All right, Jesse on fire. Welcome back. So we got two stories we're going to talk about in this video. Number one is Jon Jones did a video on Instagram Live last night where he was apparently blitzed, and I was like, oh wow, how is this a story? Jon Jones was super drunk on social media. Like, wow. And then I saw what he said, and I was like, whoa, not a good look, dude. Given his history, I don't have any idea what he was actually trying to say, but he talks about, as it sounds like, wanting to kill his kids, is what he says. Unless I'm misunderstanding it, he says, don't know my kids get now. I want to kill him. And you're like, I don't think the guy's like really going to kill his kids or anything, but it's like, guy, this is a bad look. So obviously we are going to look at that. We're also going to look extensively at the massive updates going on with the Strickland-Nicksick situation at Extreme Couture, because there's a lot more to this story than everybody realized. Eric has deleted his Instagram. He's had to delete his daughter's Instagram because his daughter was getting harassed on Instagram by Strickland fans. We're going to talk more about that, obviously, as we get into the video. But there is a much bigger reason for this conflict than just like, oh, Sean didn't fight great, and so Eric went and trashed him online. Now, I'm not like, I'm not saying what Eric did was like super smart or well advised or whatever, but this is a situation that has a lot more to it, apparently, than what we originally thought. So those are the things we're going to talk about. And if you have not subscribed to the channel yet, that's cool, but I would like it if you did. I would love it if you did. So do that if you want. And then like the video as well. So there's this whole thing of Cormier talking about what he thinks about Strickland removing Nicksick from his corner, but I think I'm just going to skip that, dude, because I think we have too much other stuff to cover. So we're going to start with the Jon Jones stuff, and then we're going to go over to, oh, by the way, the way that we found out all of this additional context in the Extreme Couture thing is Eric Nicksick spoke to one of his, another Extreme Couture coach who has a podcast, and they talked about it on their podcast, 10-7 MMA. We've talked about them before, but I'll show you guys right after the Jon Jones thing and talking about that. We'll go over there. We'll look at what he said, because Justin Janes tells the story of exactly what Eric told him and exactly what's been going on. And it's also, by the way, it's a conflict over money. Like, there's a huge financial, piece of this entire thing. It's actually a conflict over money is what's going on between Eric and Sean. So anyway, we'll get into it, but let's look at Jon Jones first.
Daniel Cormier weighed in on Sean Strickland's claim that Jon Jones went on Instagram Live in the middle of the night last night and appeared to be extremely intoxicated. It appears Jon said you go on a trip and get pissed off, disappointed, and as a dad, you just want to kill him.
On a trip, you get pissed off, disappointed, and as a dad, you just want to kill him. On a trip, you get pissed off, disappointed, and as a dad, you just want to kill him.
Bro. Okay, so like, hypothetically, if we were going to look for reasons that this would not be ideal, you're like, Jon Jones, Vegas attack on wife. Like, I would say this is probably the reason, and again, I'm not trying to rehash old shit, I'm really not. Like, I'm not trying to dunk on Jon Jones. I'm just giving context to why that particular thing that he said is like, yikes, bro. Jon Jones was on an emotional roller coaster during domestic violence related arrest. Again, I'm not trying to rehash his shit, but we all know his wife was like bleeding out of her face. The police had to come, all that stuff. You guys remember that? So like, hey, go on a trip and then, you want to kill your kids. By the way, this clip right here is something that we used in the new episode of Play with Matches. If you guys are not following Play with Matches, the show that I do with Gabrielle, you guys should definitely go over there because she's much better looking than me. She's much smarter than me. And our show that we do together, per the analytics is better than this one. People watch each video for way longer. Okay, but like if you remember this, right? Jon Jones arrest video. This was that incident, right?
There's nothing on
Come here, 11.
Sir? No, sir.
Where's
Yes, I have it in my pocket, in my wallet.
It's okay if you grab it?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
This is the same night we were talking about when the thing happened with his wife and kids.
Why are you doing this?
Yeah, you can stand up, man.
Oh, man. This is so humiliating. I got the Hall of Fame tonight, and then you're going to put me on this by walking down the street.
Come here, dude. You can stand up, man. Come here, dude. Do you want me to put you on something?
You don't want to get hurt. I'll grab a drink. Oh, my goodness.
Want to talk to me?
Yeah. Humiliate me, my Hall of Fame. You f***ing nerd. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. You f***ing nerd. I hate you so much. Thank you. My Hall of Fame name. What's your name? Put it on camera.
Doesn't like you, Josh.
Nerd. Don't touch me. Please don't hurt me.
Get your phone out of your way.
Sir. Yes, sir. You f***ing nerd. On my Hall of Fame night. Say your name publicly. Say it. Garrett what? John. Officer.
He's just wasted. You know, it's like I'm in no position to judge anybody's substance abuse issues, but you know, I mean, listen, dude, Jon can do whatever he wants. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, like Jon can do whatever he wants. If he wants to get blacked out drunk every night, he has money. He can do whatever the fuck he wants. You know, but like if he goes on Instagram and makes an oopsie where he says, I want to kill my kids, you know, I know he didn't really mean he wants to kill his kids. Okay. For the record, I am not in any way implying he actually wants to kill his kids. I'm just saying that's not a thing he would have ever said on a live stream if he wasn't blacked out drunk. You know what I mean? Especially given, you know, so yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just not a great look is all. All right. Now we're going to get into the details of like Eric and the money dispute and all that stuff. But I wanted to start real quick with them talking about these people harassing Eric and his daughter to the point where they had to delete his daughter's Instagram. His 15-year-old daughter was getting harassed that hard that they had to delete her account. So I definitely want to start there, talk about that, and then we'll talk more about like what was behind this entire thing. Let's hear about Eric's daughter getting harassed.
Imagine Eric had some emotion about that. And then to go on, Sean saying he didn't want to fight. He was only fighting for a paycheck. Well, you got to look at Eric's personal life. He has a family in Vegas. He has 100 other fighters that he works with. He has a gym that he manages. So for him to take off the time to put into Sean, you know, putting in an 8-week fight camp, you know, working with him for 8 weeks, then going to Australia for 2 weeks, just for a guy that doesn't even care about winning or lose or care about winning, he felt that not only was he shorted financially, he was taking time away from his other fighters that do want to compete seriously, and he wasn't getting paid what he thought he deserved. All right. And I totally understand that, man. I can understand now.
That is what he meant then when he said he wants to work with champions. That's what he meant. Is he's like, he's talking like, he's like, I got pulled away from my entire stable of guys for 2 weeks. And the fighter that I'm with is openly telling me that he doesn't care if he wins. And he's like, I want to work with people who I want to work with champions, people who want to be champions. That's what he's talking about. He's not saying like he only wants to work with champions. That's what he meant.
Why he would come out and say the things he did out of frustration and so forth. So at the end of the day, there is I said in the video, there's things between the lines that I don't know about and the public doesn't know about. I made that clear in the video. And those are the things. It was a financial dispute. And, you know, Eric was upset that you know, he's taking time away from people that deserve his time, mostly his family, for X amount of, like 2 weeks. He was in Australia for 2 weeks. Now, I mean, Eric has an incredible family. He has several daughters, he has 2 daughters, and he has a son, beautiful wife, beautiful family. And he takes time away from them to come help you win and become a world champion. And you don't even want to be a world champion. So that's kind of how that was. Now, moving forward, the backlash that Eric got is freaking insane. He's had to shut down his Instagram account because of all the hate messages he got. Not only has Eric had to shut down his personal Instagram account, his eldest daughter, who I think she's like 15 or 16, has had to shut her personal Instagram account too, because now that his was shut down, they are attacking his family. And MMA fans are attacking his 15, 16-year-old daughter. Maybe she's older, maybe she's younger. Regardless, he has 2 young girls and he has a young boy. And, you know, now he's dealing with all this. And, you know, really,
okay.
You know,
that is so insane to me. It's like, listen, okay, I'm not naive enough to think that anything I say about a topic like this is going to have any influence on the kinds of people who would seek out Eric's 15-year-old daughter to harass her through her Instagram over this. Like, over this? Okay, like, first of all, families are off limits. Like, just bottom line, dude. Like, families are off limits. I don't think that is some kind of controversial position. And especially daughters, man. 15-year-old girls, dude. You guys not like read a fucking article about like how dangerous social media is for teenage girls, especially? Like, and so you guys, hey, because you guys are the good guys, right? Like, you're the good guys. And so you got to go get your licks in on Eric. So you go after his 15-year-old daughter. And the reason is because Eric said that Sean had an uninspired performance in his fight. Like, I personally don't think Eric should have done that show, for the record. Like, bottom line, I don't think he should have done the show. I don't think he should have said those things. I haven't really heard literally anyone who has watched it be like, well, I think that was a good idea what he did, or that it was a net positive. Everyone was like, why would he do that to his fighter? Right? Now, I understand why he was frustrated. I completely understand why he was frustrated. And I really like Eric and I really like Sean. But like, you know, I think when I was talking about this before, I was giving him the benefit of the doubt in terms of, I don't think Eric would do this if it wasn't because he was trying to motivate Sean or whatever. Sounds like he was frustrated. And frustration is it's not a reason to do something that you wouldn't have done otherwise. Like, that's a bad motivator and it always leads to bad outcomes. But that said, like, anyone who would go after his daughter, like, what do you think your role in this story is? Like, I'm seriously asking. Like, what do you think your role in this story is? You know, like, I have said this before. I will continue to say it. I think Sean has the most kind of like, for lack of a better way of saying, like, the most intimate two-way relationship with his fans that I've ever seen from an athlete, actually. Not just UFC, just an athlete in general, you know? He really means it when he says that he loves you guys. You know, when he's like, I love you guys. I consider myself in that group because I love Strickland. But in a situation like that, right, you're going to have a contingent that thinks that, like, they're like the Sean Strickland marauders on the internet. And it's like, so I'm seriously asking, like, when you're talking shit to Eric Nicksick's teenage daughter, like, what do you think? Like, what do you think you're doing? You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? You think you're being a good guy? And these are the exact same people who would go and attack if they even sniffed anything that could be construed as any other thing related to, they're the kings of protecting girls, right? Like, these are the people that'll go and they'll destroy a person's, you know, reputation or destroy whatever because they're like, this guy groomer, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, have you even looked into that case? They haven't looked into it, but they'll just light people up. Exact same people who would do that because because they care so much about teenage girls would go over there and attack Eric's teenage daughter. Like, you're a fucking fraud and a moron. Anybody who talks shit to Eric's daughter is a fucking idiot, okay? And here's a reality check. You should behave on the internet the way that you behave in person, okay? Now, I realize I say that as a person who considers, I don't know, like man-to-man shit's important. You know what I mean? I'm not going to say anything on my channel that I would not say to a person directly in their fucking face if they were in the same room as me, okay? And I certainly am not going to go after someone's family if, you know, and that's my point is like, whatever you said to Eric's daughter, hey, walk me through the scenario that you would say something to Eric's daughter if you saw Eric with his daughter in real life, okay? It's absurd. You would never say a word to her. You would never say anything to Eric, but you certainly wouldn't say anything to his daughter, okay? Because he justifiably would beat you until you were unrecognizable to anyone who's ever met you. You know, it's like, it's his fucking daughter, man. And I realize most of the people who would do this are probably young fucking numbskull retards who can't really conceptualize what it's like to have a daughter. But as a guy who has daughters, let me tell you, like if someone fucking went after one of my kids on social media and I found out who you were, I'll fucking kill you. Like I will fucking kill you. And at the very least, I'll ruin your fucking life. Like there's not, you fuck with a guy's kids, dude. I don't think you can understand like where a person will go if they're like us, you know, like the broader community. It's like a guy that you think of as like relatively nice and like, you could say whatever the fuck you want in the comments. You're like, oh, Jesse's being a tough guy. I am telling you, dude, a person fucks with my daughters, I'll fucking kill you. Without a fucking doubt. I'll never feel one bit of regret about it. I'll bury you in the fucking dirt alive. You think Eric feels different? I'm talking about if you fuck with my kids, okay? That's like the one thing that we're talking about. You can't fuck with a guy's daughters, dude. You can't fuck with his daughter. Okay? It's insane. I can't believe I even have to say this, dude. I literally can't believe that I even have to say this. And you do it from anonymity, like just sitting at home like, hey, why is your dad such a piece of shit? You look ugly in this picture. It's like, you know, what I was saying yesterday about it, and like sometimes like a thing will happen and I'm like, it's not like a thing I would actually do, but the thought that comes into my mind kind of better explains how I feel about it. And I was like, if they said that to my oldest, like if they harassed my oldest daughter off the internet and I got a hold of one of them, I would grab their fucking jaw, teeth, and I would pry their jaw apart and snap it off. That's where I kept going. I'm like, I would grab them inside their mouth and I would tear their jaw in half with my bare fucking hands. And like I said, I'm not saying I would actually do that. I'm saying like, that's where I'm at. And I would never forget, would never forgive. Like, don't fuck with a guy's kids, man. Don't fucking do it. So let's go over now and we'll look at the new update on the Sean Strickland situation with Eric Nicksick. Okay, so this is Justin James. He's a Extreme Couture fighter, UFC veteran, and Eric Nicksick spoke to him at length about the situation.
This morning, a very emotional felt video from Eric, essentially talking about how he gave Sean a family and gave Sean a purpose and gave him leadership roles at the gym. And he's praising Sean of how great he was or is. And
he's talking about a video that Eric did after Strickland won the title.
You know, how he's making this turnaround and this and that. Like really, like I said, you see the video, it's a very emotional video. Now, moving forward. Since then, he's lost twice to DDP. The second time, very lackluster performance. Eric goes on the Errol Hawani show, talks about how his performance was uninspiring, and just like it was a total 180 from the original video of when he won the championship. And I just was really caught off guard and kind of like, you know, weird about it. I was like, man, there has to be something between the lines. And then Eric talks about how he might cut ties working with Sean. And me being a fighter, it's, you know, there's been points in my career where I feel that friends, I'm going to say family, but friends, supporters. I lose and they abandon me, man. When you win in MMA, everybody wins. Your coaches win, your fans win, your friends win, everybody wins. But when you lose alone. And
I have literally heard every fighter that I've ever heard talk about this issue tell that exact same story. Walking back into the locker room, like and there's no one there except them and maybe their coaches. And they're just like, it's so crazy. Whoever wins, the highest you could be. Whoever loses, the lowest you could be.
I've felt abandoned in losses before. And, when I saw the video of Eric, like I said, talking about Sean's performance, talking about how he doesn't want to coach him anymore, I felt that Eric was essentially abandoning him, man. And it really hit a nerve with me. And as you guys saw in my video, I don't trash talk Eric. If anything, I say how much I love him. And, I just didn't agree with what he was saying. Now, a lot of people at the gym, I don't want to say any names because it's nobody's business but theirs, but a lot of people at the gym, high-level fighters that you guys would know, I guess, are upset with me going against the grain, pretty much saying fuck Justin for saying the things he did. With that being said, a lot of the gym agrees with me. So it's a 50-50 split. Now, as soon as we posted, I shouldn't say as soon as, but within a reasonable time of posting this video, within a couple hours, I received a lot of praise from guys because they think and they're feeling like I was coming out to go against Eric. And that wasn't what I was trying to do. It says, we have a podcast. I have an opinion. I don't have to agree with Eric. I don't, and I don't have to, man. It doesn't, he's even as a friend. Me and Huzaifa, listen, Huzaifa is a rule follower, guys. Like when we were in Montana, like he didn't even wanted me to drive his rental because on the agreement, like, hey, you know what I mean? And that.
Huzaifa, you fucking pussy. Jesus, you're one of those guys. You won't let people drive the rental car because it's like, nope, only you drive the car. That's hilarious, dude. Especially because you have money, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like, worst case scenario. That's fucking hilarious, dude. I'm just breaking your balls, obviously. I love you guys both. But that is hilarious.
And we don't have to agree on this stuff, but we're not going to fight over it. And he doesn't get mad and that's just a silly, small example. But we don't agree on a lot of things, even when it comes to fighting. We don't agree, but we don't fight over it. And we respect each other's opinions, and that's kind of what I was hoping for. Like, hey, respect my opinion, although against the grain. Now, immediately Eric texted me. He sent me the video and told me that some people are upset about this. I call him immediately because I'm a man, and so we had a 15-minute conversation, and he goes on. And he says, hey man, like, I wish you would have called me before putting this video out because there's internal information that you don't know in the situation. And I kind of assume that.
And Justin, before we go further, let's not talk about the specific numbers just to keep that private, but you can say generally. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. Cause like I said, there's a financial dispute in the middle of this thing. And, candidly, absent the numbers, it's kind of hard to gauge, who's in the right, who's in the wrong on that particular issue. And honestly, even if we knew the numbers, I don't think that any of us have any idea of what's what. But anyway, it's not even there.
And I don't want to talk about specifics, even though I was given permission to, but I'm not going to out of the privacy of, argument's sake. I don't want to by mistake say the wrong number. And, so I'm just going to keep it broad.
Yeah.
So, going into that fight, they had talked about payment and how much, Eric thought he was deserved to get paid and how much Sean wanted to pay and offered to pay. And I guess there was a payment dispute somewhere along the lines. And again, I'm hoping maybe we can get Eric on the show and he can explain much deeper because he hasn't come out publicly and talked about it. And if we could have him on the 10-7 for the first time to talk about it, I think it would be awesome, especially given me and Eric's history. So he talks about a payment dispute. And then he talks about getting back and, Sean, I guess, the week after his fight, told Eric that, he didn't even really want to fight. He didn't care that he was fighting for the belt. Essentially, he was fighting for a paycheck and, that he was unmotivated. He didn't want to be there and this and that. And so when Eric also said, like, I only want to work with world champions. Well, I think that text was taken out of context as well. I think what he meant was, and Eric also said he regretted going on the Ariel Helwani. He said to me on the phone that he regretted going on the Ariel Helwani show and saying what he said because of all this backlash he's getting. But I don't think he meant like I only want to work with world champions, because you're kicking 99.9% of the fighters out of the gym, because 99.9% of the fighters are never going to win a world championship at the gym, at the pro level in the UFC. You're talking about 1 out of 100 guys, 1 out of 1,000 guys. So for you to say that you only want to work with world champions, I thought was a little ridiculous. But I think it was taken out of context. Yeah. I think he meant that I only want to work with guys that strive to be a world champion.
Yes, that, and then also I think part of what he was saying too actually did have to do with the fact that 99 out of 100 guys not only won't win a title, but like are never even really in the conversation to have even the opportunity to fight for a title. And I think what he was kind of saying without saying it was, it's an insult to all of the other guys to be, I don't know, like, and again, I'm not talking shit about Sean's performance. I'm just saying in the context of what he was talking about, I think he was saying like Sean owed it to these other guys to at least care and want to win the title. And it makes sense now that like if Sean was saying to him going into the fight, like, I'm not motivated. I don't want to do this. Whatever. And Sean's Sean. So maybe Eric's like, he's going through something, but he always shows up to fight. But then you get a financial disagreement in the middle of that thing, and Sean throws so few strikes, and you know what I mean? It's like, and Eric makes a mistake and goes on and does the show. Sorry, let me let Jay.
And I'm pretty sure that's what he meant, because
I bet you, just to jump in, I bet the way that I am thinking about it now, I think what he meant to say is I want to work with people who want to work with me and want to give it their all. That type of thing. I think it came out the wrong way. Yeah.
And I agree. And there are some times that, being on a podcast, like, you say something. I mean, it happens on this one all the time. Like, I'll misspeak, and then after the show, I'll be like, oh shit, I said this, but it's not that, or, I mean, maybe I made it sound different than what it was. And I regret it. And I know he feels that way. He told me he regrets the things he said. He wish he hadn't said those things. Regardless.
Let me just jump in one more thing too, just to give it a little bit more context. I'm going to say this quickly and then I'm going to pass it back over to you. Is I think that one of the issues, maybe why he felt frustrated, is what it sounds like to me, is this dispute over the payment or what was fair or whatnot. It never got resolved. So it didn't get resolved properly. Like they didn't have it's what it sounds like to me. They never fully got it resolved. So it sounds like there was some resentment or anger underneath the surface. And not saying not to excuse it, but saying I think that may be what caused that frustration to build up and let him vent.
If it's unresolved, okay, I don't need to know the numbers. That's on Sean. Like, just straight up. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Like, because what that means is that, because I also have seen this, so I know Eric wrote out a proposal to Sean about what he thought he was owed, whatever, and Sean like just straight up like didn't respond to it, and that is, I mean, it's pretty unprofessional, dude. Like going into a fight like that to go in kind of like a question mark around what's what, just like not respond or not whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I mean, again, this is all, now we're in an area where it's this like, now, okay, this is Eric's side of the story. I'm sure Sean has a side of the story also. You know what I mean?
On the air, on Ariel's show, like the biggest show. And that's what caused all this. But anyways, let me turn it back over to you.
So Eric sent Sean a very long text message. It's like 5 paragraphs talking about, payment and so on and so forth. And again, I mean, I know what was talked about, but it's not the public's business. We'll just keep it at this. He sent him a very long text message wanting to talk about, their agreement, and Sean ghosted him. And that obviously would be very upsetting if I'm calling somebody to talk about what I think I deserve and what I'm being paid, and they just don't answer. That would fucking piss me off. And
that would really piss me off too. Because you're married at that point. Like, you're going over there to do the fight. It's like, that's the kind of thing that, like, what the hell was that? I don't know if you guys just heard that beep or not, but I don't know where that came from. Anyway, financial uncertainty in a deal like that is just like a thing that's just going to like sit there.